Hello, metalheads, and welcome to the second episode of the new show, Nostalgia Goggles, with Jeremy and RJ. We're so excited to have you guys back for the second show. I'm so happy with how the first one went. It was a lot of fun, and this episode is going to be a doozy because things might get a little angry. So, if you haven't watched the show, basically what we do here is we talk about movies that we loved when we were kids that maybe were not very well reviewed, maybe still don't have a very good reputation, but we love them. So we take a look back and assess those movies and kind of give what we think of them now. And then we also battle our movie versus the other guys. So in case you don't know, I'm Jeremy the Adam Adams. I was a kid in the 1910s. So I'm a big George Méliès fan. Just kidding. 1980s. I was a kid in the 1980s. So I'll be arguing 1980s movies on the show. And then I also have my awesome co-host with me. He's a 90s kid. He's a Power Rangers fan. He's awesome. It's Rene Villarreal Jr., RJ. How are you feeling today for our second episode, buddy?
I'm feeling good. This is what we're actually going to get into, what we want to do with this show. This is going to be an actual argument.
All right. And then running the feed today and producing is the awesome Alex Warden, Omega. How do you feel being on the show for the first time?
Well, honestly, I'm coming into this last minute. I happen to have the day off today, so I'm just jumping in blind. Jeremy did give me a little rundown, and I did see bits of the last episode, so I kind of think I have a feel for what my role is. Basically, though, I'm just going to be listening along, getting the arguments and kind of judging things. But I am going to look to anyone watching live. I am going to be monitoring the live chat. And if you guys have any opinions that you want to throw out there, just put them in the chat and I'll definitely take a look at them.
Yeah, this is going to be our first live chat episode. So we're happy to include you guys, get your thoughts as we go here. Tell us, about what crazy, insane things you're enjoying in the conversation. And then, basically what we're going to do is we're going to talk about two movies today. And then at the end, we're going to have a final verdict where we're going to actually decide which of these two movies is going to win the day and which decade's going to win the day. And I need you guys to chime in on that discussion. So the way the show works, we each picked a movie in a certain theme. The theme for today's episode is talking animal movies. You can't be a kid and not watch talking animal movies. So I'm going to say the movie that I chose for today is the 1980 film starring Chevy Chase, but actually starring the famous dog Benji. It's Oh Heavenly Dog from 1980. And RJ chose a wonderful film, maybe? Gordy from 1995. This is the talking pig movie that wasn't Babe, but also came out in 1995. So we're going to discuss it. We're going to get into it. And the way we're going to start the show is each of us is going to take a minute to basically talk about the movie that we picked and why we picked it. So I'll go ahead. I let RJ start off last episode. I'm going to go ahead and start off this one. So the movie I picked today is Oh Heavenly Dog. And to give you a little background, when I was a kid in the 80s, one of the biggest stars was Benji the dog. Like Benji the dog, this was an animal that we all recognized, and he was basically the star of a franchise. He was in TV shows, movies, commercials, specials on TV. It was a huge deal, and it all started in the 70s. In 1974, the first Benji film was released, which was an independent film made in Texas, and it was made by a filmmaker named Joe Camp. And it's so strange that the two movies that were made independently in Texas in 1973 and released in 74 were both huge, massive hits that kind of changed independent cinema forever. And they were two polar opposite movies. They were Benji and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. That's right. Both Texas indies that made it big and started franchises. So basically, Benji, it was an indie movie, but it hit big. It became a huge sensation. One of the most popular family films of the decade. They made a second movie called For the Love of Benji later on in the decade, 1977, they actually went to Greece. Benji has an adventure in Greece in that movie. And basically, a little more background. The original film, they had a dog actor named Higgins. That was the actual dog. He was a dog that had been in TV shows like Petticoat Junction in the 60s. And he played Benji in the first film. And then unfortunately, Higgins passed away. And in the follow-up films, that Benji is actually played by Benjean, who is Higgins' daughter. So the daughter, it's actually a female dog playing Benji in For the Love of Benji, the movie I chose today, Oh Heavenly Dog, and then later on in movies as well. So that's kind of the background. So first two movies came out. They were G-rated. They were big hits with kids. And then they were deciding, what do we want to do with the third Benji movie? And at this point, like, Benji was huge. Like, they would actually take Benjine to live get-togethers, and people would go, and it would be like you would take your kid to try to pet Benji. Ooh, there's Benji. They're having a meet and greet. I got it. We have to pet him. Like, everyone would try to pet him, and everyone thought it was Benji. No one actually knew that it was the female daughter. That was kind of a secret, but that's kind of the whole thing. So it was a huge thing, and they had to decide, well, okay, we got a huge phenomenon. What are we going to do for our third movie? And for whatever reason, Joe Camp, the director, decided he wanted to do something very strange and try to do an adult Benji movie. He wanted to take it more PG. He wanted to have adult characters, adult themes, do a very different kind of Benji movie. So they came up with this movie called Oh Heavenly Dog, which is basically a private detective murder mystery. And basically what it is that it stars Chevy Chase, who was just starting his film career at the time. He just left Saturday Night Live, and he was big. And basically the story is Chevy Chase is an American private detective living in England, and he gets called on a case. He's investigating it, and he's actually murdered. And Chevy Chase goes to heaven, to this like weird, kind of office version of heaven where everyone's dressed in white and it's very officious. And this one gentleman that he has to deal with basically tells him, you have to go back before you can move on to the next part of heaven. You have to go back to Earth, and you have to solve your murder. And an innocent man was accused of the crime. You have to get the innocent man off, and solve your murder. But we have to send you back. You can't go back, as yourself. We have to give you a different vessel. So basically, they send him back in another vessel, which is a dog, which is Benji. So at that point, you go back to the Earth, and the rest of the movie is basically we're following Benji, the performing dog, with Chevy Chase now narrating Benji's thoughts. So he's still the same character. He's still Chevy Chase. He's narrating the dog's thoughts, and he's trying to solve his murder. And it all kind of revolves around this reporter who Chevy Chase, before he died, he'd had a meet cute with her, and she's played by the lovely and beautiful Jane Seymour. You would know from Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman, so many things, James Bond movie, Live and Let Die. So basically, the dog ends up like with her, like the dog keeps showing up with her as she's investigating the murder of this guy that she met once, that they kind of had a little connection, and Benji's and the dog's investigating, and it follows, and it's your typical kind of murder mystery plot. But there's a lot of hijinks, funny little things that they throw in with the dog. There's crazy stuff. I'll get into it later, but the movie's really nutty, and it was an odd mix, but yeah, that's what they decided to do. And yeah, it is a movie that I definitely remember watching many times as a kid. So that's Oh Heavenly Dog. That's a description of it. We're going to jump over to RJ now. Now, RJ, tell us your movie. Tell us, why this is the movie you picked, and kind of what was the Gordy phenomenon in the 90s.
All right. So as Jeremy kind of put a little too lightly earlier, the amazing film that I've chosen for today is 1995's Gordy. Like he said, this came out, it was a talking pig movie that came out at the same time as Babe. And we know in the 90s, and still even today, before streaming, there was still the thing of, a lot of studios would make the same movie to try to piggyback off, no pun intended, but to piggyback off the other movies. And this was Miramax's response to Babe. So Gordy, and like Jeremy said, I mean, as a kid, talking animals, that's what we want to see. As a kid, like, there's nothing more entertaining than watching an animal go on an adventure, making humans look dumb, and hearing what the animal actually thinks of the entire situation. Now, I don't actually know, but what I'm assuming happened for my childhood is that someone wanted to buy me Babe, saw Gordy, and thought it was Babe. And I got Gordy. But I also got Babe, which is weird. I also have Babe. I have both. But I don't know what it was about Gordy, but I enjoyed it just so much more. There's no one really in it I can say that is a name of recognition with the cast. This was a very B-list cast at the time, a very B movie. The only one of real mention I can say is Frank Welker which is, if you're into cartoons and everything, he's a very prominent voice actor. I believe he did Scooby-Doo for a long time. I believe he was Fred Jones for a while, and he even took over Scooby-Doo in the 2000s. I think even
just to chime in, I got to chime in with my 80s knowledge. Frank Welker was the voice of Stripe in Gremlins. So he has a lot of great cred with him.
Yes,
and most famously playing Megatron in the
Transformers. Absolutely.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah, so as everyone knows, this guy's basically on the level of Jim Cummings. This guy's voice acting royalty. So, and he did a lot of the other like extra animal voices and sound effects and all that stuff because that's what he's really good at. But yeah, so basically, Gordy, we follow the tale of this little pig named Gordy, whose family is taken from their farm in Nebraska, unknowingly to him, to a slaughterhouse, but we don't get into that yet. But and basically he goes on an adventure to save his family because his father was taken first, separately from the mother and the rest. So he promised his father that he would take care of the family as the oldest piglet. And then when he gets back, he realizes that the rest of the family has been taken now. So he goes on this adventure. Of course, he meets some kids who take him in and help him move along, and who, by the strange movie magic of a child's innocence, find out that they can communicate with this pig, actually talk to him and understand him. And he just goes on an adventure. He becomes this big celebrity. And in the end, of course, he finds his family and everyone lives happily ever after. Typical 90s movie. But something about it just stuck with me. I don't know. It was just cute. Maybe it's because I'm a Texas boy. There's so much country music in it. He actually gets adopted at first. He first gets adopted by the daughter of a country music star, not no one prominent, but a traveling country music star. So there's a lot of country music in this. I enjoy the hell out of it. I actually enjoy the hell out of the songs themselves. But yeah, I mean, this movie to me was just always so fun. Like I said, I picked it over Babe every time. This was the movie I could pop in always.
Yeah.
I could pop in this movie whenever I just wanted a good fun movie to watch. I would pop in Gordy.
All right, so that's kind of gives you the rundown on the two movies. The next part of the show is what we call the nostalgia review, and this is where we basically give you the review of this movie that we would have given when we saw it as a kid. So we're entering back, for me, I'm entering back into the mid 80s when my dad got Oh Heavenly Dog for me. I remember my dad saying, yeah, there's this other Benji movie that has Chevy Chase in it. And he got me the VHS, and I watched it several times. So I'm going back to that time, and I'm going to give you the review that I had. And basically, I would be like 6 or 7-year-old Jeremy now. And, oh, I love Benji. Oh, this one has Chevy Chase. I've seen him in the Coneheads. Or not the Coneheads, that was Dan Aykroyd. I've seen him on Saturday Night Live. Oh, he was in that vacation movie. Oh, this is fun. It's Chevy Chase. It's Benji. Benji's actually kind of talks in this one. He doesn't talk in the other movies. And oh, this is so fun. Oh, and it's a murder mystery. My dad shows me murder mysteries. This is an awesome movie. I love this. And let's watch it again. There, that's basically my rambling child's review of Oh Heavenly Dog from like 1986. And now, RJ, jump back to the 90s and give us what young RJ would have said about this movie Gordy that he watched so many times.
All right, so when Gordy came out, we're talking about 3, maybe 4-year-old RJ. So I was very, very young, very impressionable. So, of course, talking animals, like I said, that was a big thing at that age. Most of the time at that age, animals are your big thing. Most of your toys are animals. Most of the playtime you have with is animals. So a movie about a talking pig who actually has the ability to talk to a kid, I mean, what could you want more? Especially, like I said, from being from the South, from being from what people consider a farm territory, it's not uncommon to be like, who doesn't love a pig? Have you ever actually seen a piglet? They're the most adorable things in the universe. They're adorable. I want a pig one day. No joke. I want a mini pig. I don't know what I'm going to call him yet. I'm probably going to call him Sausage.
Did you want the pig when you were a little kid? Like, did you already decide you wanted a pig watching this movie?
So the movie itself, this is also the funny thing. The movie itself was genius in its marketing. Before the movie even started, it was like, hey, do you know you can own all the animals from Gordy? There's an infomercial for the dolls from Gordy before the movie even starts. And I was like, 90s. I want every single one of you. I never got any of them, but I wanted every single one.
And you wanted a real pig.
I did. I wanted a real pig. I still want a real pig. But yeah, this movie was fun. Like I said, the music, I was okay with country back then, so the music was good. It was fun music to play along with. It had a nice little story. And of course, who doesn't want to see that little pig get back with its family? I mean, come on. It's, it's beautiful.
All right. Okay, so that brings us to the end of that part. So I'm going to go to Alex. Any thoughts you have, anything to add or anything from the chat so far?
Okay. Well, my thoughts are, honestly, having never seen Oh Heavenly Dog, at least as much as I can remember it from that plot, and then having only seen Gordy once when I was 11, honestly, kind of even points here about both your memorization of the movies, how you feel about them personally, but also good facts going back and forth.
Yeah.
Kind of from the chat as well, Luca chiming in a little bit. When you were talking about the plot of Oh Heavenly Dog, Lucas said that's just Puchinsky, but with less Peter Boyle and 10 years earlier.
That's true.
And then also pointing out that Gordy has Tom Lester in it, who is also in the original Benji movie. What crossover madness is this?
Was going to get to that. You better believe I was going to get to that.
Brooklyn in the chat also chiming in that Gordy and Benji are from the same farm. Myth confirmed.
Yeah, right. Benji's not from a farm. All right. Okay, thanks, guys. So we're moving on to the next segment now. And the next segment is where I call it taking the nostalgia goggles off. So this is the part where we have to look back at the movie that we chose and basically as if we now watched this movie for the first time. So again, flipping from last week, I'm going to start. I'm going to take the nostalgia goggles off, and I'm going to give you my actual review of Oh Heavenly Dog, basically what I would think of this movie if I was watching it now. All right. This is one of the weirdest fucking movies ever made. Like, I don't know what the hell was going on in the 70s, but the idea of taking this popular dog that everyone knew and doing this weird murder mystery, making it like more adult themed, having him cuss, like having the dog cuss throughout the movie. There's a lot of bizarre stuff in this movie that it's just so random. Like, you're following along with this plot, but then there'll be some really random shit that just hits you out of nowhere. And it's so weird because it's not like the other Benji films. The other Benji films are really low key. They're just basic standard dog on a mission. Dog has a mission to fulfill. What this movie, they tried to put in humor. Obviously they're trying to get Chevy Chase's personality in there. There's a lot of like London stuff, English themed stuff going on. So it was a weird mix. And I think I would put this movie under the mantle of movies that I think were real. They're going for something unique. They have a creative idea. They got something cool that they're trying to accomplish, and it just doesn't work. Really, the movie just doesn't really work. But I still really appreciate the movie. I like that they were trying to do something different. They're trying to take the character of Benji in a different direction. And I think one of the things I appreciate about the movie is how they meld. You get a few scenes to kind of get into the Chevy Chase character. He's this really low key. He almost reminds me of like a kind of like a Humphrey Bogart type character, but even like more low key. Like he's a really low key guy. Isn't this everything's like an under his breath aside, and then he almost seems very detached. Like he's not really into his job as a detective. He seems adrift really, and then to take that low-key persona and then put that over this dog with these, and the dog is so expressive, and you talk about cute. I'm sorry, in my opinion, Benji beats Gordy any day. Benji is like, that was the cutest fucking animal ever. That dog, the eyes, RJ, the eyes, the soul of this dog. This dog is so cute, and to put it basically, it's like you're seeing this dog, like Chevy Chase's personality in the dog, and the dog throughout the course of the movie has to figure out, as a dog, how am I going to do this? How am I going to get the clues? How am I going to follow suspects? How am I going to get from one place to the other and try to solve this case in this body? So you see it's like the dog doing things, figuring out like there's a scene where the dog has to take its paw and rub pen over a notepad like they did in North by Northwest to read a message. And it's like, how do I do this with my paw? And it's like, it's figuring things out, and there's a lot of good physical detail there. And at the same time, Chevy Chase is like talking like, all right, I got to do this. And he's making little jokes, and he's like commenting on humans that he comes across. And then throughout the course of the movie, though, there's the energy goes up. So by the end of the movie, you can see that he actually kind of cares and is invested in what's going on. Like I mentioned, the Jane Seymour character, like there's like a weird, that's the weirdest part of the movie, is like, you could tell he still has the hots for her. So as the dog, like there are a couple times in the movie where she's taking a bath and the dog's in the apartment and the dog jumps in the bath with her. And obviously he's like leering at her and shit and like, wishing he was still Chevy Chase so they could have a bathtub sex session. So there's all that weird stuff like that. But at the same time, there's an arc where he's growing to care about this woman and like have feelings for this woman. And Chevy Chase's like vocal performance kind of picks up. And I like the way that the dog performance, the physicality, and the Chevy Chase thing play off of each other. So that's cool. But yeah, there's a lot of random stuff like early in the movie. One of the worst things about this movie, there's a couple real bad things. One I absolutely have to get to is the use of music. Now, the first Benji, you have to go back to the first Benji. The first Benji had an opening song where it was a song by Charlie Rich called I Feel Love, and that opened the movie, and that was one of the things people loved was, there was a pop song in the movie, and that kind of set everything up. And then in the second movie, there was more pop music. So now it's the biggest budget movie, and they're like, we got to put more pop music in there, and there's more we can do. So the opening song is a song by Paul McCartney and Wings, and that song, we got Paul McCartney, we got to play that song 4 times in this movie. So they keep playing this song throughout the movie, and then they also have a song by Elton John, like a lovey-dovey, weird poppy Elton John song. And these are not songs you would know by these artists. These are like their lower tier music. And each of those songs get played, and they get played in the most inappropriate times. They don't really mesh well with the movie. And every time that fucking Paul McCartney song plays, and I love him, I love the Beatles, it's just like, oh God, there it is again. Taking me out of the movie. So that was something. The actual score of the movie, like the actual score is good. I liked the score. I thought that some of like the murder mystery kind of like sounding music to it was good. But yeah, the pop music was bad. The other thing that sucks in the movie that I'm sure we'll get to with RJ is the pacing. It was a different time. Movies were paced differently. This movie is slow as fucking molasses. But I think if you have maybe a drink and you just kind of focus on the cuteness of Benji and wait for some of the cooler parts in the movie, you can get through it. But yeah, it's slow, man. It's real slow. So there's that issue. And some of the weird stuff. Okay, early in the movie, Chevy Chase is trying to get across town, and he has this friend who's kind of like a cab driver, and he's a horrible gay stereotype, like the most like offensive gay stereotype character you've ever seen. And then the guy, like, he's a crazy driver, so he like drives off. And then later in the movie, kind of something that's going on in this movie is that we know people die and come back reincarnated as different things. So he ends up coming across a cat, and that cat is the gay guy that because he was such a crazy driver, he got in a car accident off screen, like right after that scene, died, came back as the cat. And it's just like, and there's the gay cat. He's going to hang out with the gay cat for a minute. And the gay cat doesn't really do anything. He just shows up a couple times, just kind of give a couple little laugh lines. And he doesn't factor into the story at all. And it's just like, hey, let's throw a gay cat in there. I don't know, man. I don't know. All I can say is, it was horrible when it was the actor, but when it's the actual gay cat, I laughed. I couldn't help it. The gay cat gave me a chuckle. And the other thing is when he goes to heaven, the way they do heaven, it's like first he meets this guy who's like kind of a bookkeeper, and he's like his main contact, given his mission. But then he has to go, there's like a big office area where there's a bunch of people and they're all getting sent back to Earth. And he has to go like basically get his like ID and get sent back to Earth and everything. And there's like this German woman who's like in charge of the line, and she's like in a stereotype like muscular like German kick your ass woman. And she basically, like, as they're conversing, she decides that she wants to take Chevy Chase in the back room and S&M fuck him like in the middle of this scene, like, I'm taking you in the back. And she grabs him. I'm like, what kind of version of heaven is this, where people are like the officious workers, the office workers in heaven want to fuck and have S&M habits, and I don't know what's going on here. But basically, like, yeah, he's like determined to get out of there, and that's like one of the reasons. Don't send me back. She's gonna fuck me. I can't go back there. That's like an ongoing joke in the movie. It's so weird. Yeah, it's a kids movie, guys. And so there's strange stuff throughout the movie, and then the whole murder plot is like basically, no spoilers, but to sum it up, basically, a woman was killed. This was a woman that was like fucking high ups in British society. She's basically like a liaison for like British people in society. And she had had a bunch of different affairs. She gets killed. One of the guys she was having an affair with gets put on, is arrested. And they're basically like, Chevy Chase's character knows he's innocent because they told him that in heaven. And he has to figure out who the actual killer is. And there's this other British like guy who's basically wants to be prime minister, or like that's his ultimate goal. And he's like, when this guy walks through town, everyone loves him and he's really popular, and you get to know this guy's involved somehow. And there's actually a really good moment in the movie where Ben the dog is in his office, and there's a picture on the wall of the Matterhorn in Switzerland, and he actually puts together that something had been said about the woman taking a vacation in Switzerland, so it kind of puts together that they were having an affair. And there are cool little like murder mystery moments like that actually work for me. Like, it's not the best mystery, but there's enough like whodunit stuff, and the dog actually does do some good detecting. Like, he's a better detective than Batman in some of the Batman movies. So there was some decent stuff there. And Omar Sharif, you know, actor who is an Oscar-winning actor, not Oscar-winning, Oscar-nominated actor from Lawrence of Arabia, who's in Dr. Zhivago. He's like the main villain, basically. Basically, you come to realize he worked for the politician, and he's, you know, it turns out he's the killer, which you kind of always know. And Omar Sharif is legitimately good in this movie. Like, this is a tormented, tortured guy. You actually get to realize why he committed this murder. Like, there was actual motivation involved, and he's great. And he has to do some silly stuff in this movie, like chasing the dog around and stuff, but he always sells it. And that was one of the things that I liked. And the thing that I love most about this movie that I think still works is Jane Seymour. This is the same year that she was in Somewhere in Time, which is one of my favorite romantic films, very underrated movie with Christopher Reeve and Jane Seymour. And she's stunning in this movie, and I felt like you could play a drinking game in this movie where drink every time she changed an outfit. Like, she's constantly changing into glamorous outfits in every scene. Like, how hot can she look in this scene? How glamorous can she look now? and I love that. Like, every time she changed her outfit, I'm like, ooh, that's awesome. She's fantastic. She's good in the movie. I think she has a good rapport with the dog. Like, you like he's always like inconveniencing her and causing her trouble, but you know, she kind of loves him. And you know, and then at the end, I'm not just gonna describe everything, but at the end, I'll just say it, she dies and she gets reincarnated as a cat. And the last scene is Jane Seymour cat and Chevy Chase dog, and I think it's kind of a neat ending, and I think it wraps everything up. So yeah, basically, weird movie. A lot of it doesn't work, but there's a lot of it in it that I like, and I can definitely understand why I loved it as a kid, because Benji's always cute, always cool, and some of the murder mystery stuff is cool, and Jane Seymour was awesome. So there's a lot that I like in the movie, even though it's a really bizarre movie, and what the fuck with that gay stuff and the German woman, I don't know, but whatever. So that's basically my thoughts, being honest now about Oh Heavenly Dog. So let's take it over to RJ. RJ, now got to take those nostalgia goggles off. I know it's hard, man. But you got to try to be critical on Gordy here. What if you saw Gordy for the first time now? What do you think your review of Gordy would be?
I'm sorry, I'm still keeping an F-word tally. I mean, geez. I apologize to the YouTube community at large.
I can't talk about this stuff and not do it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, those are some phrases in there that I don't think I'd ever hear Jeremy say. Also, Jeremy, one thing you've said a couple of times, Luca wants to call you out on. Yep. If you use "I was going to get to it" in your trivia match against him, that's not a valid excuse.
Fair enough.
All right. So, yeah, Jeremy knows for me, taking off the nostalgia goggles is always the hardest part for me. Mm-hmm. So, you know, watching this movie, I mean, obviously, like I said before, if this was obviously a cash grab for someone who they saw a similar movie coming out with Babe. Babe did all right. Let's put out our own movie about a pig, because kids aren't going to know the difference. So parents are going to buy this for their kids. The kids are going to see a pig on the VHS case, and they're going to want to buy it because they're going to think automatically of Babe. Mm. Now, this movie, it had some good ideas, like I said, because as much as it was a cash grab against Babe, it wasn't the same as Babe, which a lot of people.
Am I not mistaken? Was it not made first, RJ? I feel like Gordy was produced first.
Yeah,
or at least
because I feel like what happened was they pushed it out because they knew Babe was coming, and they were like, once, and wasn't Babe, who did Babe? Wasn't Babe Disney?
don't think it was
someone,
Disney.
Someone bigger did Babe.
Yeah, it was a big studio. I don't think it was Disney, but yeah, it was produced by George Miller, directed by Chris Noonan. Big production.
Yeah, but so basically, and like Miramax at this time, people joke about how Miramax was. So this was Miramax, like, okay, now we need to get our movie out first because they're coming out with a pig movie. Like, but so it felt a little rushed. It felt like they could have tweaked the story a little bit. Like okay. So screw Jeremy's think of no spoilers. So in this movie,
let's just get to it. Let's just spoil it.
Gordy gets adopted by basically a multi-millionaire family of like branders. Like they specialize in brand products. And Gordy ends up becoming the new brand. Like they call him Hero Pig because there's this thing where he saved the little kid's life. But that's not my point. My point is the grandfather dies, the gentleman who owns the company. And at first he's like, I want to leave my company to my grandson. But of course he is not of age. So until he becomes of age, the CEO of my company is going to be Gordy. That's right. This 95 movie actually makes you believe that American business world allowed a pig to be the CEO of a multi-million-dollar company. No. I even knew that was dumb as a kid. It's dumb as an adult. But whatever, it's a kid's movie. I'll give them that. I didn't. What else? I still like the music. I still have no problem with the music of watching it now. I think it fits well just because, it is a farm animal. So you have the little country beats going on in the background every now and again. So it fits. It works. They're just little cute things like like it's fine. It works for the movie. The cast itself was good for a B movie. A lot of times with B movies, you tend for some over underacting, especially from the kids. I think the kids did better than the adults. The adults sometimes I was like, but whatever. You had a nice little because the whole subplot once he gets adopted is by the time he's looking for his family, there is the main antagonist is basically this lawyer who works for his grandfather's company who's also dating his mom.
Yeah.
And he's trying to gain control of the company. He's one of those like, look, I'm dating mom because eventually we're going to marry and that's going to give me more power in the company. So that's a big thing in it because, of course, when Gordy gets control of the company, then he's like, okay, then I need to get rid of this pig. And then there's this whole thing with the pig and the kid going on their own little thing. And then they meet back up with the country family. And then the dad who is in the country music band falls for his mom. And they all like each other. And it's this, it's like I said, it's a big old typical 90s movie. It really is. Like you could call everything that's going to happen in this movie. You really can. There's so much suspension of disbelief that you're like, why is this conveniently happening for this pig? Because it's a 90s kids movie, so it's going to conveniently happen. Everything is going to conveniently happen. But other than that, I can never say a foul word about this movie, even taking off the nostalgia goggles. Like, I know what it is. I know what it was made for, and I can't argue with. It's not like it wasn't a success, but I can't argue with what they did. They tried to put out a Get Goods movie. For all in all, just like I did with Surf Ninjas, this was a serviceable kids movie. It wasn't great, but it wasn't terrible. It was
So you think, like, for a B movie production, it was well done. You liked the performances, you liked the music, the look of the movie. If you look at it as a B movie, you think it works, and it's still a movie you would give a high mark to it.
Exactly, like because a lot of these movies back then I didn't know they were B movies, but watching it in these days, it's obvious that these are B movies. So I watched them as B movies. I don't watch them as big theatrical releases that like were supposed to blow people away. Yeah. It did its job.
Okay. All right. Well, that brings us to the end of that section. We have anything else there, Alex, before I jump into the next section?
Just taking a quick look at the chat. Sandy has hopped in and says this is not even a close argument for him. A crime-fighting dog versus a pig. Let's be fair, though. The pig is the CEO of a multi-million-dollar corporation, as RJ has pointed out.
When I want to forget that.
Yeah. And Luca points out, one of my favorite things about Gordy is the tagline is "This is the year of the pig," which is true, but only because Babe made much more money.
Yeah.
And I do want to throw out a couple of factoids here just for correction.
Yeah.
Gordy came out in May of 1995. I'm sorry, I'm thinking 2000 for some reason. Babe did not actually come out in theaters until December of that year.
Yeah,
made probably like let's do a comparison here because I do have the numbers up. Gordy grossed $3.9 million at the box office. Babe would gross over $250 million. Be critically acclaimed, win awards. Gordy had a 26%. Currently has a 26% on Rotten Tomatoes. And I will go look at the score for Oh Heavenly Dog, but I'm guessing it's probably worse or even at this point.
I think it's in the 30s or 40s, but you can double check that for me.
I'm going to take a look at it. But again, as always, Rotten Tomatoes is not the end all be all. So let's not even worry about that. I'm just looking it up for factoids.
And just if I'm not mistaken, if I'm not mistaken, I think that the comparisons to Babe were more of a home video thing. Like on re-releases on home video, they were trying to link Gordy to Babe. So it wasn't something that happened on its theatrical release. It was something that happened later.
Yeah, on the VHS release.
All right. So now we're moving to the next segment of the show, which is, I think, the hardest part for us, which is we have to review the other guy's movie, but we can only say nice things. We have to give the positive review of our other guy's movie. So, because we don't want to just have this be a complete screen fest. I mean, where would the fun be in that? All right. So, I'm going to go first this time since I've started on all these today and give positive things that I pulled out from Gordy. Thought the movie opened well. You know, it's a cute pig on a farm. Something bad happens. You know, they take his family away. Pigs running all across the ground, trying to get somewhere to find his family to save them. That's cute. And I'm engaged and I'm invested in that. And I thought the voice acting of the animals, you know, could have been better, but hey, it's a pig. He's got a little kid's voice. You know, that's cute. So, you know, so that's cool. So that I was in it at the beginning set. We thought the whole opening part was good. There are some good filmmaking moments in the movie. There's a moment at the end. RJ kind of hinted at there's a whole slaughterhouse thing where the family gets taken to a slaughterhouse and they're basically going to be killed. That's like the big tension at the end of the movie. And there's like some low angle camera shots, like panning through the pens with the pigs as they're, you know, potentially in their last moments. I thought those scenes were effective. They were fairly well done. And there was some tension there in those moments. I mean, overall, it had a bright look. It really felt like a Southern-made movie. It really felt like it's a particular part of the country, so it had a little bit of personality that way. Man, I got nothing else. I think I'm tapped out on anything good I can say about Gordy. All right.
All right.
That is the end of the positive review. So let's jump over to RJ and see if there's anything good he can say about my movie, which I'm not so sure.
I like Chevy Chase, like as an actor. No, I mean, you know, like you said, it was one of Chevy Chase's earlier, and you know, I enjoy it. It had that Chevy Chase charm to it as he was voicing the dog, so that was really fun to watch. I did like that. I did like the detective work he was doing. Mm-hmm. I still have a problem with a little bit of it, but we'll get to that next.
Of course.
But and then I guess the ending was serviceable, but man, do I have some shit. But yeah, Chevy Chase. I like it. That's about the nicest thing I can say right now.
Anything on Jane Seymour? No?
I mean, cool. She was there. Okay. She looked nice.
Right. She sure did. Okay. All right. So that's the end of that part of the show, which is usually pretty short. And now we move on to the real meat. This is what we call the open floor. So we're basically going to open it up, and this is where we get to rant and rave on the other guy's movie and basically say what we really think. I'm going to kind of try to keep it on track we're going to do one movie at a time. So we're going to go ahead and start with Oh Heavenly Dog. And I'm going to let, since Oh Heavenly Dog has come first in every segment, we're going to go first. I'm going to let RJ go to town. So RJ, let me have it. And tell me what your thoughts were, what it was, what pain you were in having to watch this movie. And eventually I want to hear, like, what does this movie say about the 70s and 80s and what people were into then? Like, so let's hear it.
This movie was long. This movie did not need to be this long. This movie could have been 20 minutes shorter.
It's an hour and 47 minutes, so it's close.
Yeah, it could have been less than an hour and a half. It should have been less than an hour and a half. How the hell can you call this a murder mystery when you know who did it from like the first 20 minutes? You know it's the guy. You know it's the assistant.
They don't show him doing it, but you never really have.
You never have to guess. As soon as when he is a dog, he goes back to that apartment for the first time, and it shows you that it's the assistant in the apartment with him. I'm like, I was expecting them not to show his face. They show you, hey, look, it's the assistant hiding in the doorway.
No, he's there. I didn't know that meant that he was the killer. It certainly meant he was involved. I thought it could have been more people were involved, but yeah. The main mystery is more the motive and why he did it. But yeah, I get you there. They give it away way too early.
No, because then they give it away like 20 minutes later when you find out he's the guy's assistant. I'm not saying that I knew that the guy had nothing to do with it, but okay, political rival, you work for this guy. Hey, you got him put in jail, so now your guy's in the lead. Ooh, stupid.
He still had to catch him. He still had to get all the clues. He had to put everything together, and he had to do it as a dog, which wasn't easy. So, it's kind of like, the old TV show Columbo from the 70s. In every episode of Columbo, they told you who the killer was in the beginning. And so there never was a mystery of who did it. It was more about how is he going to catch him. So I feel like that was more what they were going for.
Okay, but see, like you're talking to a guy who grew up on Scooby-Doo. I don't want to know who did it right at the beginning. I want the reveal at the end. I want the Scooby-Doo was earlier than this. Remember that. Scooby-Doo was earlier than this.
But how is he going to get him? He's a dog. How is he going to catch the guy? And how is he going to put everything together? There's a use of a video of a voice recorder. There's a lot of cool things that he has to do, and he has to do it as a dog, and he has to communicate with Jane Seymour. Like, there's a lot going on there.
I would have loved to see him figure that all out together, not already tell the audience who it is, and then just watch this dog figure out how to get him. I wanted to find that all out at the end. That's the good thing about a mystery. That's what you want. You want to have to figure it out yourself while the main character is figuring it out, and they freaking told you. Like, why would I want to continue watching this movie at all?
Yeah, so it made it boring for you because you weren't invested in the mystery part. Okay, all right.
And don't even get me started. Don't even get me started about that stupid ending. That horrendous ending.
Loved it.
Horrendous. She comes back as a cat?
It's so
what? What? This is dumb. That is the dumbest thing they could have done with it.
Yeah, I will say this. It would have fit in better if it was just a straight kids movie because there are so many adult things. When you get to that ending and it's your basic kids movie, oh, now he's a cat, now she's a dog, and now they're going to be best buddies. That's more of a G-rated thing. It felt a little out of place, but I still thought it was cute. I know that I've cussed a lot on this, but I got to cuss again here. I got to ask you a question, RJ. Are you still there, buddy? Oh, we lost him for a second.
I think he might be frozen at the moment.
Okay.
He's still showing active. Oh, okay.
All right.
We'll give him a minute to jump back.
Yeah. Basically, the question that there's a very there's a question that you're left asking at the end of this movie, which is one for the ages.
Sorry, I froze, so I jumped on.
You're good. You're back. Okay, I just want to ask you this question. I know. I understood. Something from a kids movie. Yeah, it's silly. I thought it was cute. I thought she was a beautiful cat. Thought that the voice of Jane Seymour fit very.
That's gross.
No, she was a pretty lady cat for a pretty lady. They got the prettiest.
Don't ask what I think you're going to ask.
All right, I'm gonna ask it, Alex.
Oh, for God's sakes!
RJ,
what?
The question for the ages that the only thing I could think about when this movie ended are the cat and the dog.
Oh God, no! See? That's why it was a dumb ending, because there are people like you out there who automatically went there.
Can they?
That's
I've
why.
never known. It got me thinking about this. Can dogs and cats have sex? I've never
We don't
actually
wanna
even
think
thought about that.
Why are we thinking about that? Why are we
Because
having
they loved
this
each other. Look, they
No,
loved
they
each
didn't.
other.
No,
they didn't love
no.
They had a crush on each other. They had certain feelings that were starting, and now fate has made them be a cat and a dog. So what's going to happen?
No, now you have tainted the start of a beautiful friendship. That's what that was. That was the ending of Casablanca for them. That was Louis. This is the start of a beautiful friendship. Let's go be a cat and a dog together. But
I think
you had to taint it
they're
with
gonna
your
find
film.
a way, buddy.
You had to taint it with
gonna
your
find
German
a way.
S&M film.
I think
That's
there's
what you
going to be
did.
some licking. There's going to be some something.
Oh, and then no, how dare you, sir? And for those of you who are like concerned about how he talked about some S&M German, it really wasn't that bad. If you want a good example for fans of Futurama, just remember the episode with bureaucrat number 19 when she was into Fry because he was dirty. That's what happened in that scene. He cussed. She thought it was hot. She was like, do me. It wasn't anything more than that. Don't get me wrong. She was still like, do me.
No, she was gonna grab him. She was gonna do something he wasn't interested in. It's very clear. And again, I'm gonna say what I said. I'm sorry, what I said last week about the Drip Bike Kid. On its own, that wouldn't be so bad. But in a kid's movie with the dog, it felt weird. Is basically like last week when I was talking about the rape humor in a movie for 5-year-olds. The fact that the rape humor is in a movie for 5-year-olds is the problem. Like the fact that they're hinting at S&M stuff in a kid's movie, that's kind of where the weirdness is.
You took it there. You took it to S&M.
No, it's there.
She could have just wanted to bang. She could have just wanted to bang.
And I'm sorry,
I still don't approve
there
of
is a romance.
There
is a romance between these characters for the entire movie. There's no way you can't think about that at the end, RJ. That they're romantically involved. Like he's had the hots for her the entire movie. So of course you're gonna have that thought. That's why it's such a weird movie.
No, it's not. Of course you had to have that thing. That's because you're recommending alcohol. Because that's why. Because after that movie, you have that one friend who took that sip like. And you think you're gonna do it?
Only thing I was thinking in that movie.
And that's when we kicked that friend out.
Only thing I was thinking.
That's when we put that friend in the corner and made him think about what he's done. That's what happens. But no,
all right. What else? No. Let's move on. What else about this movie? What do you think of the gay cat?
That guy did not need to be there at all. That character was useless.
Sure didn't.
That character did not need to be there. Not even at the beginning as the driver. Did not need to be there. He was absolutely dumb.
I thought it was cute I thought it was funny when he was the cat, but they didn't do anything with it, so
it was dumb. They didn't need to be there. Who else?
I honestly think
the whole ending scene was dumb. She just gets shot. What? She just gets shot. He just comes out of nowhere. I did it. I'm the murderer. I wanted to push your career. Now you die. And
he wasn't trying to shoot her, right? He shot her accidentally.
Conveniently police there to arrest him as soon as he shoots her. There's conveniently policemen.
I thought that they had been alerted before, but I could be wrong. I thought that they had said it. I thought that it had been set up by Jane Seymour and everything.
She didn't know. Remember, she went in there talking about, like, what are you talking about?
I thought it was when she died, I thought it was kind of effective. But yeah, it's pretty silly the way that it plays out. They could have put more thought into it.
They could have.
I was saying, what do you think of the acting in this movie, though? Like, I thought the acting was good. Like, throughout this is high-level acting throughout this whole movie.
No, yeah, the acting was fine. But it doesn't save it.
It makes a difference for me. Like, you know, if you're watching a movie like this and you've got Omar Sharif and Jane Seymour and some other great British character actors that pop out throughout this thing, Morley, I forget the actor's first name, but his last name is Morley. Great character actor. You got some good London, color going on throughout this movie. There's a really scene that I like in an art gallery where there's a lot of weird characters and she has to interview different people. And there's it's stupid, but I love the gag where the dog has to get out. He needs them to let him out of the art gallery. So he lifts his leg on one of the art pieces. They're like, oh, they throw him out. Like, I thought that was a fun scene that had a lot of energy to it. And really good character actors, like a lot of really cool stuff throughout this movie with the acting, all good. I think you're underselling how weird this movie is. I think this was a bizarre movie.
No,
it was trying to be a kid's movie. It's
weird.
trying to be something else. It doesn't all work, but good acting. Like, I defend a lot of it. And like I said, the murder mystery, it's not so much about figuring out who did it. It's about them catching him. It's about them figuring out the motives, who was involved, who wasn't involved. I was engaged with all of it. It's just, the movie should have been 80 minutes. They should have cut the fat. Those pop songs should have been taken out. There's a lot they could have done to tighten it and make it better. So, but I was engaged with it. I wasn't like, sounds like you were just out, like from the beginning, like you just were totally checked out, RJ.
Well, it took, first of all, it took forever to him to get to being a dog.
Like 10 minutes.
It took
pretty
like
quick.
20 minutes. It took more than 15
quick.
minutes. I was watching that clock go by. It took more than 15 minutes for him to become
RJ's
that
got one
dog.
of those clicker counters. Click, 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 click. Not dog, not dog, not dog.
It was bull. I did not need to sit there for that. But I will give him one thing. I liked the heaven.
Yeah, it's pretty fun.
I like when they turn. I like when people turn the afterlife into the DMV. It always makes me laugh.
Well, what did you think about? I could not help but think about Dark Knight Rises at the end when they're like, where he's like, "Oh, my initials were BJ. Maybe I can call you Benji." And then the joke, "That's a terrible name. Why would you call me that?"
That was
so much
dumb.
like I like your real name, Robin. It was like, Christopher
That
Nolan
was-
likes
that
this movie. He took that terrible joke.
Yeah,
What did you think of the humor in the movie? Because I thought a lot of it fell flat, but there were some moments where I legitimately laughed. Like, much Chevy Chase's one-liners were pretty funny.
Yeah, that's like I said. I like Chevy Chase. That's what I told you. Like Chevy Chase's parts were funny. Everything else was kind of like flat to me.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Any last thing you want to hit me with before we move on to me yelling at you?
Oh, dude, you better watch yourself.
All right.
Better watch what you say. Better watch
okay.
what you say.
All right. Moving on. Now it's my time. We've gotten the Heavenly Dog out of the way. Now it's time to talk about Gordy. I didn't see Gordy when it came out. I never watched it. It was I think I remember like my little cousins, like they had it on, like it was on VHS and it was on in the background and stuff, but I never watched it. Obviously loved Babe. Saw that movie in the theater when it came out. One of my all-time favorites is Babe Pig in the City, the sequel. I love that film. So never saw Gordy. So, I never heard great things, but hey, I figured RJ loves this movie. Gonna give it a shot. Maybe it's cute. Probably a cute, good, sweet kids movie, like a B movie. Like you said, that's kind of what I went in thinking. All right. The beginning, the pig, he's on a farm. They take his family. He's got to go find his family. I'm like, okay, cool. It's like a live action American Tale. It's going to be about this pig going off to try to find his family. He's going to have, encounters along the way, but it's all going to be this mad dash against time for him to save his family. And it's going to be like a good kids movie, like American Tale was, on this journey. And then he ends up with this country music group, this traveling country music van with the dad, the little daughter that sings, and from that point on, the Gordy plot gets derailed. And to me, this movie is a country music soap opera, like a low budget country music soap opera with some of the worst acting. I'm sorry, Artie, some of the worst acting I've ever seen in this movie. The acting in this movie is horrific. Like the voice acting on the animals is pretty bad, but the live action acting, whoo! Oh my God. So it's this country music family's little girl. Like, I don't know what it was, but throughout this whole movie, these actors, I don't know what it says about. I think we're learning a lot about me today, unfortunately, but I wanted to punch most of the people in this movie in the face. Like, they annoyed me. Just the way that they looked, their facial expressions. Oh my God, they're annoying. And that little
You
girl,
leave Cousin Jake alone.
that little girl's insipid smile that she does. You can tell the director was just like, oh, that little girl's got that smile. Have her do the smile. Have her do the smile. Like there's a scene later in the movie where they're all sitting around and they're kind of like in the background and she just does the smile. And it's almost like the director was saying, oh, we got you guys in the background. Do the smile. She just does. That smile is so annoying. She's the most obnoxious little girl. The kid, the rich kid that he ends up, being, that kid is so bad. The villain, that villain with the stupid mullet, the terrible acting of that guy. Oh my God, he was awful. Just, I couldn't stand him. And then the villain, like later on, they've got the traditional 2 idiot sidekicks that he's got with them, and they're so bad. That one guy that mugs so much, it's unfreaking watchable. The humor with these guys is terrible. It's just the acting. Oh man, it's just. And then, like, we're supposed to get invested in this love story with the mother of the boy, the rich boy. Like, for one, she's a terrible mother. For one thing, like, she's trying to start a modeling career. She's got a step. She's basically engaged to a guy who is a sociopath. She's not smart enough to realize this. She like gets into a competition with the pig at a certain point because they're trying to both land a modeling contract, and it's like.
Best part of the movie.
It's like she's trying to get into her modeling career, but yet at the same time she's competing against her son and the pig, and it's like, and she's getting upset, and she like throws a fit when her modeling thing gets tanked, and she's embarrassed, and it's like,
but it was hilarious.
She doesn't care about the kid. She doesn't. It's like she's terrible, and at the same time she's kind of fallen in love with the country music guy, and that's weird. And that's like, why? And why do I care?
Because you don't understand the love of country music. You don't understand what it is to have a man with a guitar and a drum
in my movie.
Come sing it to you.
The moment later in the movie where they're okay. All right,
let me grab my guitar and sing you a song from
the country music is bad in this movie. I'm sorry. These are bad country music songs. These are not. This is like insipid, bad country music. And the scene.
They are beautiful country songs.
He performed.
You hush your mouth. You're from California. You don't even know. Doug
Stone was a kind of a second-tier country performer. He plays the dad in this movie, and he performs like 3 ballads in this film, and each of the ballads I think clocks in at about 37 minutes for each song that he performs. They're interminable, and the last song that he performs in the final concert at the end, it goes on and on forever. And there's a scene where the evil guy's like with a mother, and he's like, "We need to get out. Let's leave." She's like, "No, I want to finish watching this." And he's like, "Who cares?" And she's like, I think I just fell in love with country music. I'm like,
exactly.
What the hell am I watching?
You don't even know.
This is supposed to be a movie about a pig, and a cute kids movie about a pig, and I'm watching this terrible actress. I'm all for country music. What is this bullshit? This isn't what I signed up for to watch. And
but a cat and a dog making love, it totally makes sense to you.
You can't imagine a girl falling in love with country music. That's the movie. The movie is about a guy who becomes a dog. This is supposed to be a movie about a cute pig going on an adventure, there's literally
he goes on an adventure.
30 to 40 minutes of this movie is these stupid ass actors who can't act and their love story and their bullshit, and not the pig. The pig gets sidelined and it's all this horseshit. Now, you yelled at me last week, RJ, about the stupid conceit in the movie I picked, The Dirt Bike Kid, about they basically charge a dirt bike as a person and lock it up in a cell. And I'm telling you right now, I stopped watching this movie and I went to my fiance, Julie, and I said, Julie, I'm going to tell you 2 things. Tell me which of them is stupider. Okay, people lock up a dirt bike as if it's a person and lock it up in a jail cell, or a pig is voted to run a Fortune 500 company with no reason behind it. It isn't like the pig ever did anything.
He was the hero pig. He didn't saved the grandson. He didn't do anything
with business. He saved the kid, and then he was a model.
He's literally the brand. He's the brand, pig on the box.
They're having him run the company. For the kid, they're actually having him make business decisions.
And they're great business decisions.
It makes no sense. It comes out of nowhere. And okay, the worst moment in this movie, the kid ends up on the van with the country music band, and they just out of nowhere, it isn't set up. Son, your grandfather died, and then they cut to the kid, and they cut away, And it's like, grand. And then they cut back and there's like tears on the kid's face. It's like the worst cut in any movie. And it's like, it's so awkward. It's so weird. It comes out of nowhere. It's so terrible. I was just like, what in the hell is that? That kid is such a terrible actor. This is like the way that they cut with the tears. Get me out of this movie right now. And it's like, you know, they don't set it up. Like, okay, this is, I talked about in the Dirt Bike Kid, you have a clash between what is the reality of this movie and what is not. Because they basically, the clash for me is are they going to take are you invested in the story about the pigs possibly being slaughtered? Like, that's serious. But at the same time, this pig becomes a CEO. There's these fanciful things. And it's like, there's a clash there where I felt like it's so silly that it felt like it was a total emotional knee jerk when those pigs are about to be slaughtered at the end. Like, we got off track so far with the country music shit and all the soap opera, and we got so silly that it was such a left turn at the end that clashed with the movie. It didn't work. It didn't work. I wasn't invested in it.
No, because that pig got the perfect life. And he still remembered his promise to his father. I'm going to go find my family.
Why weren't the pigs slaughtered months earlier? There literally months pass in this movie, and it just so happens that at the end of the movie, the pigs are going to be slaughtered. It doesn't make any sense, and it was really...
No, because remember, it shows you. First they were sold to auction, then they were actually bought for auction, then they were bought by the slaughterhouse. There's steps. There's things that go through it. You don't know nothing about selling livestock.
It doesn't read in the movie, RJ, because it's just like, oh, he's doing this, and he's going to go off and do this thing with them, and they're going to have a modeling campaign. He's going to run the company, and they make modeling decisions. It takes you completely out of what the main story was supposed to be, which is that he's trying to save his family. And it's like every once in a while, the pig's like, I need to save my family. Okay, we're going to do that, but let's go do this. I'm going to save my family. Okay, what I was invested with in the beginning is totally lost, and then it comes back in a very ham-handed way at the end, but the movie really gets off course and is with these terrible actors, bad music, and there's so much in this movie that doesn't make sense. It was not fun to watch. And you talk about like how my movie was badly paced because they tell you who the killer is, basically. But in this movie, it's badly paced because I want to know what's going on with those pigs, and I don't really care because of that, because they set that up in the beginning. I don't care about this fucking woman and her life and this country singer and 75-minute country music scenes. I don't care. Like, the momentum of the movie is destroyed by that. And it's impossible to me for not to think about what the movie could have been, because what the movie could have been is Babe. The movie could have been Babe, which is a great story where you're invested in the pig. He has a journey. We're invested in that character. The way that the pig relates to the humans, to the farmer, to everything in that movie is so beautifully done. Whereas this movie, we start with the pig and his journey, and then we get off track with all these ridiculous humans that we don't care about. And like I said, one detail I looked up on this movie is that the majority of the people that worked on this movie, like the crew, the cast, never worked on any movie again. And it shows. Like, this seems like people just, hey, let's make a movie. They didn't really know what they were doing. The acting, like, there's so much in this movie that's amateurish. And like I said, the pig's cute. There were a few good moments, but I didn't laugh. Like, the humor fell flat. And like I said, the acting, like, on these people, man, I wanted to punch them. Even Doug Stone, like, I could see why he might have been a popular country singer, but there's something about his mullet and the way he acts and everything. It was just,
it was God. The 90s.
It was painful, dude.
Alone.
It was painful mullet, hurtful mullet. All right. Okay, I think that's going to have to wrap it up there. So
how dare you, sir?
That's the end of the open forum. Let's go to Alex and just we're not going to go to final verdicts yet, but let's just get some thoughts from you and from everybody on that rant session we just had.
Okay. We have learned way too much about your personality today, Jeremy.
I'm sorry.
Seriously. You are that person we are going to put in the corner. Like, yep. What the fuck, dude?
Don't think about what you've done.
Okay.
Think about it.
I'm just being honest here, man. I got an ugly side. What can I say?
A very ugly side at that. What the fuck?
Hey, you didn't have to sit through Gordy. I'm angry. All right. Oh my God. What are they saying?
The chat's actually kind of died down a little bit. Okay. So yeah, right now it's kind of just me absorbing and soaking it in and kind of wishing I wasn't here. There's been a couple times where I've tried to take a drink of my coffee and then you say something and I'm like, no, because I'm going to spit take if I drink right now.
Well, that's what we go for here, for better or worse.
That's what you go for.
Okay. All right. I feel so bad now. I'm so sorry. I get passionate. All right. So now we're to the end of the show. Okay. So now we've come to the end here, which is the final thoughts. And basically what we're going to do is we're each going to give our opinion on what we think of the movies, what we think of the decade. And then we're going to go to you, Alex, based on what you've heard and seen here today. So basically I'm going to say, like I said, Heavenly Dog is a weird movie. It doesn't all work, but I think it really shows you a creative idea from somebody that Joe Camp was a filmmaker that loved what he was doing. Every movie he made was about Benji. Every movie was a labor of love. The trainer that worked with Benji, like they worked so well to create this dog, to do all these physical motions, to have emotions on screen. And even though this isn't my favorite Benji movie by far, I think a lot of that registers. And it really, you can see it was a different time. We didn't have like, the big special effects extravaganzas that we have today. We had dogs and stuff. And I think you can see why this is something people were into. Those scenes read in the movie. I think it was an interesting idea. I think Chevy Chase is cool. And it gives you just a little bit of a view of that time period and of what these movies were and why kids were into them. And I feel like for me, Gordy it's a country music soap opera. It gets off track. And, it's like, why would you watch it when you have a movie like Babe? I think that it shows you a lot of the worst things of the 90s with cheesy acting, with the hairstyles and with all that kind of stuff. I don't think it gave a good view of what the 90s had to offer and what kids' movies in the 90s had to offer. So I'm absolutely saying that the 80s wins today and Benji wins today. So let's get RJ's. What's your final verdict on what you say today?
Well, first of all, I got completely distracted because breaking news, we're getting Avengers Infinity War a week early, and I just got super excited about that.
Sweet.
It got moved up a week early. They moved the release date to April 27th.
Nice.
So I got distracted. But anyways, let me tell you something here. How dare you insult the country, sir? How dare you? I'm going to let my accent come out a little bit. How dare you? What would you rather watch? A murder mystery where there's no mystery and we're just watching this dumb dog doing dumb dog tricks? Would you rather watch a movie about a pig going through the country and learning what it is to love a family? Because that's what this movie's about. It's about family. The other one is about a dog, a dumb dog.
I like it.
But no, in all seriousness, like I said, for Gordy, to me, it's typical 90s out there. It's a typical 90s movie, the talking animal, the happy ending, the side adult love story that most movies have when you come in kid movies, because you want to give something the adults to watch, which is why it's a country music soap opera, because it was given something for the adults to watch, because the kids only needed that 30, 40 minutes of that pig going on that adventure. The adults needed something to sit through, and that's what they got. And how dare you insult the music? I'm going to buy you the soundtrack. We're going to listen to it together.
Oh, my dear God, no.
Yes, we're listening to every single song.
Oh, God, no.
I'm going to grab my guitar, and I'm going to sing them all, because I love those songs.
I'll listen to that McCartney song again. Can I get that McCartney song on repeat?
No, I'm going to make you listen to that last song so much.
That's
the most beautiful song ever. It's the most beautiful song ever. How dare you? But no. But as for your movie, also very, very typical late 70s, early 80s to me. The way it was shot, the pacing, definitely, because that's my problem with watching older movies, is their pacing was just... But that could be an old thing, because just my attention span of a 90s kid does not work the attention span of a 70s, 80s kid.
Yep.
But all in all, like I said, unfortunately, I would still rather watch a movie about a pig going on an adventure than a murder mystery that has no mystery. So unfortunately, there's no argument here. The 90s won today. The 90s, at least I could go on a fun adventure.
All right, so we're going to go over to Alex now. I don't know if we got anything in the chat, but we'll go ahead and stick with you, Alex. And,
on that note,
and you're just going off of what you've heard here today, and all my insanity and my craziness, and all that to think about. So, what do you think of all this? What do you say? What decade was convincing you here today?
Actually, I can sum things up perfectly, because we have someone in the chat who just summed things up perfectly. And Jeremy, you're not going to like this.
Yeah,
Luca had made a couple of good points that I agree with, and actually helps surmise my point. Jeremy is more mad about Gordy than I think anyone cares enough to be. As a movie, Gordy's aged much better. Everything about Oh Heavenly Dog is painfully stuck in the 80s. It's more focused for sure, but at the end of the day, it's just less enjoyable to watch. And as RJ pointed out, it's a mystery where there's no mystery. It's just weirdly paced, and the music choices are good, are from big artists, but very oddly pointed, as you pointed out. If it wasn't for Hot Tub Time Machine 2 or Caddyshack 2, this would be Chevy Chase's worst movie, as he said it.
Yeah.
And Gordy is a product of its era. Gordy was made to be a fun movie where kids can watch it and see a cute pig and cute animals, and parents could just sit there and, yeah, they get a little something in there, maybe with a bit of soap opera-ish drama, the country music singing if you're into that. I'm personally not, but I don't begrudge it. No. So at the end of the day, RJ wins the weak argument. The 90s win on this one, and it comes down to both just the sheer disposability of the film versus Gordy. Between the two, Gordy is the easier to digest film from the sound of it, whereas yours, it's both slowly paced, but also makes you think of very, very strange and weird and disgusting things which you should never think about. And that actually kind of hurt you on this day. Most days you'd have.
I think that makes me want to watch it way more, but understand.
That's you.
That's
yeah.
me.
For this episode, the win goes to RJ and the 90s.
All right, guys. So that's 2 weeks in a row that the 90s have won. But will the streak continue? Next week, we've got a very cool episode for you guys. It's going to be martial arts sequels. That's right. Martial arts sequels that we loved as a kid. And in Japan, martial arts where the characters go to Japan. So I picked a movie that I loved and watched many, many times as a kid and was able to revisit again. The Karate Kid Part 2 from 1986. And RJ picked, what did you pick, RJ?
1995's Three Ninjas Kick Back.
That's right. The third Three Ninjas movie? The chronology's weird.
It's the second released theatrically, or home release, sorry. But it's the third chronologically. There was this whole distribution thing with the second one that like distribution rights were changing. So the second one didn't get released till after the third one.
All right. So yeah, Three Ninjas, that's a movie where the Three Ninjas characters that were introduced in other movies go to Japan. And in my movie, Daniel and Mr. Miyagi go to Japan, to Mr. Miyagi's where he grew up in Okinawa. So we're going to talk about those movies, and it's going to be our first show with a guest. That's right. We're most of these episodes going forward, we're going to have guests who are going to be weighing in. And next week we have Ryan Permison, who is really excited. He's a big fan of Three Ninjas of the 90s, but I think he also will be interesting to see his thoughts on the Karate Kid. He actually watched Karate Kid Part 2 for the first time. So I'm really excited to see what he says, and I'm hoping maybe the 80s can finally get that win on the board here, because we're not doing too good so far.
Absolutely not.
We'll just have to see.
You thought I defended Gordy bad. Wait till you put me with Three Ninjas Kick Back.
Well, I may actually like the Karate Kid too, so that'll and so that might be a little different. All right, so here we go. All right, that was our show for today. Thank you everyone for tuning in. I'm sorry if it got a little weird, but you never know what'll happen when we're talking about the past and weird stuff. So I'm Jeremy the Adam Adams. Thank you guys all for watching us here on Full Metal Media. Be sure to check us out, trivia that we do on this channel and on Worldwide Movie Games Network. For RJ, for Alex, thank you guys for watching, and tune in next week and put those nostalgia goggles back on.